Hi everyone, so glad you're watching this video. This is for lesson 6 of our Treasure Island unit. We're going to read a new chapter today, but before we do that we need to go over the vocab words. So if you open your workbook up to page 45, it's just a couple of vocab words for our new chapter. Alright, so our chapter is called What I Heard in the Apple Barrel, which is really funny. They're not very creative about their chapter names. And that'll make sense after we read it. But there's only 5 vocab words, so that's nice. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Okay, so hopefully by now you're on page 45. Let's go over these vocab words. First word is league, and that's a noun. So it's a unit of length, about 3 miles long. So there's inches, feet, miles. Next up would be league. And it's 3 miles long, about 3 miles long is 1 league. Okay, so we did measurement conversions a while ago in math. So 1 league equals about 3 miles. Okay, and usually it's for depth, so it's like leagues below the sea level. Okay, so if you're looking sideways on it, like down to the sea floor, you'd measure that in leagues. Okay. All right, next word is squall, and that is a noun. It is a sudden, powerful wind with rain, snow, or sleet. So when I think of squall, I think of storm. Next word is maroon, and it's not the color maroon. It's a different type of maroon. This is a verb, so this is an action. If you maroon someone, you abandon them on an island. So like in our Pirates of the Caribbean movie with, let's see, my doppelganger here, he got marooned on an island in the first movie, I think. So he was abandoned on the island. Next word, duplicity. That's a noun. It means dishonest behavior meant to trick someone. So if you were being dishonest, if you were lying in order to trick somebody, that behavior would be, well, it would be called duplicitous behavior, but duplicity is the dishonest behavior. Last word is predicament, and that's a noun. You might have heard this one. Predicament is kind of like a problem. It's a difficult or dangerous situation. So if you're in a dangerous predicament, you have a problem. You have a dangerous problem going on. You're in trouble somehow. Like if you didn't have a life jacket on a boat and there was a squall coming, that would be a bad predicament to find yourself in. Okay. So our chapter, let's see, where do we begin? In the reader. This one I am going to read out loud with you guys because it's the first time we've read this chapter. The last time we read in the last chapter, they were kind of starting their journey, and Captain Smollett, I still didn't figure out how it's pronounced, but he, did not trust the crew, okay? But Jim was learning a lot from Long John Silver here and his pet parrot, Captain Flint, remember? So chapter 4 begins on page 34. Okay, I think I'm zoomed in pretty well there. 34, chapter 4. It's What I Heard in the Apple Barrel. Okay, and there is a character in this chapter that's introduced, and I don't think it's going to be a main character. He's just kind of a side character guy, but he has a name that's kind of funny, sort of an inappropriate word. So the first time you hear it, you can pause the video and laugh your head off, and then get serious again and get back to it. Okay. We're just not going to make a big deal out of it because we're mature 4th graders, right? No, probably not. Anyway, let's get started. All right. A few leagues out from Bristol, we ran into some squalls and heavy weather. but this only confirmed the seaworthiness of the Hispaniola. So they're only a few leagues away from Bristol. They just began the journey, and there's already storms. But it means that the Hispaniola, their ship, is seaworthy, so it's strong enough to continue through the storms. As we continued our voyage, every man on board the ship appeared to be cheerful. The old sea cook, John Silver, cooked up delicious grub, and the men were given generous portions. Squire Trelawney had even purchased a large barrel of apples, and it was left open so any of us could help ourselves whenever we felt the urge. Captain Smollett disapproved of the apple barrel. No good ever came of that sort of thing, he said to Dr. Livesey. Some good did come of the apple barrel, though, and I will tell you how it came about. It was the last day of our outward voyage. After sundown, when my work was done and I was on my way back to my berth, it occurred to me that I would like an apple. I went to the barrel and found there were only a few left, so I had to climb into the barrel to get one. Okay, and there's a full page picture here on this page. So here's Jim Hawkins. He finished his work for the night. He was headed back to his bunk. And here's the apple barrel. Okay, so like a giant wooden barrel. And since there's only a few left, they would all be at the bottom, right? So in order to get those, I'm assuming he's gonna have to get into the barrel. Okay. All right, page 38. Did I skip a page? Yes, I did. That would have been confusing. 36. Okay. While I was sitting in the barrel, comparing the quality of two apples, several members of the crew arrived. They were talking, and before I heard a dozen words, my mood changed to one of fear and anxiety. You see, their conversation revealed that the lives of all the honest men aboard the Hispaniola depended upon me. No, not I, said Silver. Flint was captain, and I was part of the crew. I lost my leg on that voyage, and old Pew lost his eyes. But I got my hands on some money, and it's all safe in the bank. You see, boys, it's not earning that does it, it's saving. Pause. Okay, who's talking in that paragraph? That was Long John Silver. And he was saying Flint was captain, and he's talking about Pew, the bad pirate, the blind one. So he was part of the crew. He was one of the bad pirates in that crew that killed Billy Bones. Okay. Another seaman mumbled something I could not hear. Look here, mate, Silver said in reply. You're young, but you're as smart as paint, and I'll talk to you like a man. You can imagine how I felt when I heard those words, smart as paint, as that was what Silver had said about me that day in Bristol. In fact, those were his exact words. I wanted to pounce on him, but he was unaware that I was listening, and he continued to speak. Okay, pause. So remember, Jim is hidden inside this apple barrel. They don't know he's there. They're standing nearby, and they're having this private conversation, a bunch of the crew members and Long John Silver, but they don't know Jim is in there and can hear them. So they're having this private conversation that they don't realize is not very private. Gentlemen of fortune live rough, and they risk death every day, Silver explained. But when a cruise is done, they've got money in their pockets. Most spend it carelessly, but that's not the course for me. I put it all away. I'm 50 years old now. Once I get back from this cruise, I'll set myself up as a gentleman. My missus has gathered up all my money. She's sold the spyglass by now, and I'll meet up with her when I return. Well, said one of the men named Dick, I didn't like this job till I had a talk with you, but now things are starting to look up. Here's my hand on it, John. A brave lad you are, Silver answered, and smart too. So Long John Silver is trying to recruit guys to kind of be part of his little gang on the crew. Page 37. By this time I understood what was happening. By gentlemen of fortune, Silver meant pirates, and he had just convinced another one of the honest men to join the mutiny he was planning. Silver gave a little whistle, and a third man joined them. Sorry. Dick Square, said Silver to the newcomer. So that means this new guy, Dick, is cool with it. He's part of the group now. He's not gonna, throw him under the bus and tell them what they're up to. I knew he was no fool, said the other, but here's what I want to know, Barbecue. When will we strike? I've had more than enough of Captain Smollett. Listen, Israel, said Silver. Keep your eyes peeled till I give the order. I concluded that the new arrival must be Israel Hands. I don't say no, Hands growled, but I say when. At the last possible moment, that's when, replied Silver. We've got a first-rate captain sailing the ship for us, and the squire and the doctor have Flint's map. We'll let them find the treasure and haul it on board. Then we'll strike. And what will we do with them? Asked Dick. Well, said Silver, we could leave them on the island, marooned, or we could cut 'em down. That's what Flint would have done, and Billy Bones too. Billy was the man for that, added Hands. Dead men don't bite, he used to say. If ever a rough man came to port, it was Billy Bones. Rough and ready, said Silver, and on this point I agree with him. When I'm a rich man back in England riding in my coach, I don't want these men coming home. We'll wait, but when the time comes, let her rip. I claim Trelawney. Dick, he added, breaking off suddenly, jump up like a sweet lad and get me an apple to wet my pipe. Okay, pause. All right, so we just heard what the pirates' plan is. So they're going to wait and let all the good guys, Jim and Trelawney and Dr. Livesey and the captain, they're going to wait until they all find the treasure, and then the pirates are going to strike and then kill them all on the island or leave them all there and take the treasure for themselves. Okay? And here's the bad part. Long John Silver just asked for an apple in the barrel, which is where Jim was hiding. So, here we go. An apple from the barrel. You can imagine how terrified I was. I heard Dick getting up. I figured I was as good as dead, but then Hans said, "Nah, let's have something to drink instead." Phew, that's good. Dick went to fetch the drinks, and Hans and Silver continued talking. That's the last of them, Hans said. None of the others will join us. This lifted my spirits, for it meant there were at least a few faithful men on board. So they've recruited all the mutinous guys they can. No one else is going to turn to the dark side, basically. When Dick returned, he and the others drank a series of toasts. So they were doing like the cheers and like that in the picture. Here's to luck, said Dick. Here's to old Flint, said Hans. Just then, the lookout up in the crow's nest shouted, Lands ahoy! This was followed by a great rush of shuffling feet as the mutineers sprinted away. I waited a few seconds, then slipped out of the apple barrel and followed them. As we drew near the island, Captain Smollett called out, Men, have any of you ever seen the island ahead? I have, sir, said Silver. Once, when I was a ship's cook, we stopped there for fresh water. Skeleton Island, they calls it. It were a main hideout for pirates once. There are 3 hills on it, and the big one, the one in the middle there, with its top in the clouds, that's called the Spyglass, because it's the perfect place to post a lookout. So Long John Silver, the bad pirate guy, but not everyone knows he's bad, knows a whole lot about this island already. I have a map here, said the captain. Have a look and see if this is the place. John Silver's eyes burned with intensity as he looked at the map, but I could tell it was not the map I had found in Billy Bones' chest. It was a copy that did not show the location of Flint's treasure. Silver carefully concealed his disappointment. So, Captain Smollett here was a smart guy. He's not just carrying around the secret treasure map. He copied it and didn't mark the location of where the treasure's hidden. So Long John Silver here saw this fake map and was disappointed in it. But he didn't let it show to most people. Okay, page 40. Yes, sir, he said. This is the spot, and I believe the best anchorage is right over here in this little cove. I was surprised at the coolness with which Silver declared his knowledge of the island. I had by this time such a fear of his cruelty and duplicity that I could scarcely conceal a shudder when he called out, "Ahoy there, Jim," and laid his hand on my shoulder. So Silver's acting really cool, and Jim is terrified of him. This island is a sweet spot for a lad, Silver said. When you want to do a bit of exploring, just ask old John, and I'll fix up a snack for you to take along. After Silver hobbled off, I met with the captain, the doctor, and the squire. I proceeded to tell them everything I had heard. Everyone sat quietly for a few moments until at last the squire broke the silence. Good, so Jim was able to tell everyone, all the good guys. Captain, he said, I believe I owe you an apology. You were right and I was wrong. I await your orders. Well, said the captain, I accept your apology, but now I must present to you my opinion of our current predicament. I see 3 or 4 important points for our consideration. First, we can't turn back. If I gave orders to go back, Silver and the others would mutiny at once. Second, we have some time, at least until the treasure's found. Third, we will come to blows sooner or later. That means fighting, okay? What I propose is that we choose a time to fight when they least expect it. I take it we can count on your servants, Hunter, Joyce, and Redruth, Mr. Trelawney? As upon myself, declared the squire. That's 3 honest men, said the captain. Ourselves make 7, counting Hawkins here. Now, what about the others? I fancy we can also count on the man Trelawney hired, said the doctor. I mean, the men he found by himself before Silver intervened. Nay, replied the squire, Hans was mine. Well, gentlemen, said the captain, we must determine who can be trusted. Okay, so pause. They're trying to figure out who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. And Hans, that Israel Hans guys, was somebody that Trelawney had hired before Long John Silver got involved, but he's already on the bad guy's side, so they're losing people. Okay, I felt helpless. There were only 7 out of 26 who were known to be good, and one of those was me, a young boy. Silver helped the captain guide the Hispaniola to the best anchorage. He knew the passage like the palm of his hand and never hesitated once. Still, there were problems afoot. Discipline had begun to break down. The men were now unfriendly and unwilling to take orders. They seemed to be on the verge of mutiny. Only Silver showed a willingness to obey. When an order was given, he was on his crutch in an instant with a cheery, "Aye, aye, sir." And when there was nothing else to do, he sang old sea songs. The captain called a meeting with our group in his cabin. Gentlemen, he said, we're in a real pickle here. I believe that if I continue to command this ship, the men will mutiny. If I don't, Silver will know that something's up. I believe there's only one thing to do. What's that? Inquired the squire. Leave things to Silver, the captain replied. He's as anxious as we are to cover things up. He doesn't want the men to mutiny, at least not yet. And I say we give him a chance to talk them out of it. Let's allow the men to go ashore if they like. Then Silver can talk with them and get them under his control. If they go, you mark my words, Silver will get them back in line. He'll bring them on board again, mild as lambs. Okay, pause. So the captain's idea is to let the bad guys go ashore, so go onto the island, And Silver is gonna talk to the guys and say like, hey, shape up. We still have to be acting like good guys. You guys can't be jerks yet. Okay. So page 42. Okay. We all agreed that this was the best plan. Loaded pistols were served out to all of the Sure men. The Squire's men, Hunter, Joyce, and Redruth, were taken into our confidence and received the news with less surprise and better spirits than we had anticipated. After the meeting, the captain went on deck and addressed the crew. Pause. So, they told the other three guys what was happening about the bad pirates and what the plans were, and for some reason they weren't very surprised, and they took it better than expected. Lads, said he, it's hot and we're all tired. As many of you as would like may go ashore for the afternoon. Take the landing boats. I'll fire a gun to call you back just before sundown. The men must have thought they would like a trip over treasure as soon as they landed, for their spirits seemed to lift in a moment, and they all gave a cheer. The captain whipped out of sight, leaving Silver to arrange the landing party. In a few minutes, the party was assembled. 6 of the seamen were to stay on board. The remaining 13, including Silver, were to go ashore. So most of the bad guys are headed to the island. Okay. I thought about the numbers. If Silver was leaving 6 of his men on the Hispaniola, it was plain that our party could not take over the ship. At the same time, if he was leaving only 6 men, those men would not pose too much of a danger to the loyal hands. The captain and the others would be safe, and they would not need any help. I thought it might be more useful for me to go ashore. So, without debating the question any more, I slipped over the side and curled up in the front of the nearest boat. No one in the boat took any notice of me. When we reached the shore and the men had wandered off, I came out of my hiding place and began to explore the island. Okay, and that is the end of our chapter. So, here's Jim Hawkins hiding on the island from the bad pirate guys. Kind of a weird picture. It makes him look like a giant, he's just closer to us. They're far away. All right, that's the end of our chapter. I'm going to put my bookmark in for the next one. Okay, so we're finally at the island. They've made it there, and everyone knows about the plan, basically. They're bad pirates. They want to take over after they've found the treasure, and the good guys are in trouble. All right, so back to our workbooks. Page 47 is where we want to be on our workbooks right now, okay? 47. Let me zoom back out a little. There we go. Okay, so remember I told you the chapter name is not very creative? What I heard in the apple barrel? Like, yeah, exactly. Like they could have just called it like apple barrel or something. It's like so spot on. Okay, anyways, there are, I think, just 5 questions. Yes, 5 questions. These are just comprehension questions again to see if you understood what you read in the chapter, okay? So these ones you are again doing by yourselves. You'll read the question, find evidence for it back in the chapter, and write down the page number you found it on, okay? So this is for chapter 4. And if I look at my table of contents, chapter 4 was page 34 through 43. Okay, so you can write those pages down just so you remember. You'll find all your evidence, all your answers somewhere in that chapter. You have to write down the page number for where you found that answer. Okay, so there's only 5. 1, 2 on this page, and then on the back side are the rest. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so those ones we're not doing together. Those ones you're doing on your own. I'll check them out once you turn in your workbooks. Okay, so you can pause the video right now in the middle and do those now if you'd like to, or you can do them at the end of the video. So make your decision. I'm moving on to the video. This page, 49, we are skipping. we do not have a whole lot of time to finish this whole workbook, this entire unit. Okay, we only have like 2 weeks until you have to turn this all in. So some of these pages in our workbook, we're not gonna do. And that's normal. Every CKLA unit, there's always a few pages where it's like, we're not doing this. So this is one of them. Skip it. Unless you want to do it for fun, like later, go for it. But skip that page. But this page, 51, we are doing, okay? So it's working with prefixes and also some root words that we have learned before, okay? So there's 2 parts to this, really. We're working with the prefixes im and in. So prefix is the beginning little section of a word, and the root words port and bio. Okay, so we have learned all 4 of those already. We've learned im and in. We've learned port and bio. Im and in both mean the same thing. Okay, do you remember what they mean? Trying to draw an arrow to explain. They both mean the same thing. They both mean not. So if you put in at the beginning of a word, it means not that thing. If you put im at the beginning of a word, it means not whatever that word is. Okay? Port. Do you remember what port means? Like transport or portfolio. Port means carry. And bio, we just learned in this unit, means life. Okay? So you can copy down those labels. And then there is a word bank, word box with 12 words with im and in or port or bio, okay? So it's this page and the back page. There are 10 sentences, and then there's going to be 2 words here you don't use, but those have to be used in sentences on the back. So what we're going to do is just fill in the blanks. If you want to pause the video and try this part on your own and then come back and we'll check it, then you can do that. That's normally what we would have done in school. With your groups, you would have done this page, but we'll go over some of the words first, okay? So immature. It has im, so it means not mature, okay? Amphibious. So amphibians are like frogs, toads, and salamanders. So I kind of gave you the answer there. Amphibious. I don't know. Oh, bio. There we go. I'm like, where's the word? So bio is in that one. Mature. Okay, so we have immature. We just have the opposite, mature. Mature and immature. Important. You know what important means. Dependent. And we have that word because down here is independent. Dependent means you depend on something. Independent means you don't depend on something. You are free to do it yourself. Measurable and immeasurable. So measurable means you can measure it. Immeasurable means you can't measure it. Porter. I don't know, why do we have that? I don't know why we have port. Duh. Okay. I'm like, there's no prefix. Porter. It's because it's a root word. Porter is somebody like kind of like a butler or somebody who carries your bags. Inaudible is the opposite of audible. Antonyms. Audible means you can hear it. Inaudible means you can't hear it. And biodiversity. That's just like all the biodiversity in my yard is all the life that I can see in my yard. So all the bugs and the frogs and birds and chickens and dogs and cats in my case. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna go through and fill in the blanks. Now that I've explained what each word kind of is, maybe that'll help you. If you want to pause it, fill in what you think goes in the blanks instead of just copying down what I've got. So pause the video now if you want to try it. I kind of gave you the answer already for this one. Frogs, toads, and salamanders are all amphibious animals. Amphibious. Okay, and cross it out as you go. Number 2, the stranger was very kind to act as a blank for the elderly woman and carry her bags to the train. Okay, that one would be Porter. Whoa, sorry. My cat's trying to get involved. Porter. So, remember, Porter has port as the root word, so that means to carry. If you are a porter, it means you are somebody who is carrying something. Oops, I didn't finish my word. My cat's... I had to throw my cat off my desk. Porter. And cross it out when you're done. Number 3, Treasure Island was a blank size, about 9 miles long and 5 miles wide. So if they can measure it, that means it was measurable. Treasure Island was a measurable size. Measurable. Okay. Number 4. The secret conversation of Long John Silver and his men is only blank to Jim Hawkins because he happens to be inside a nearby apple barrel when it takes place. So it is only audible. He can hear it because he's nearby in a hidden place. Number 5, the blank puppy isn't trained yet, so he doesn't know how to stay in the yard or to only go to the bathroom outside. Okay, so if it is a young puppy, he doesn't know everything yet, he is an immature puppy. He is not mature yet. And that doesn't mean like mature like he's so professional and classy. It means like he's just young. He doesn't know yet. He's not grown. So the immature puppy. And number 6, last one on this page, the sound of the floor creaking must have been blank to everyone except me, as I woke up every time I heard it while my sisters and brothers slept soundly. So if no one else can hear it, then it must have been inaudible to everyone except me. Inaudible. All right, 6 done. I'm gonna have to flip back and forth because the words are up here, but that's good. All right, number 7. My grandma cannot drive, so she is blank on other people for rides. Okay, so if you depended on somebody for other rides, so she is dependent. Okay, she is dependent on other people for rides because she can't drive, so she depends on them for car rides. I'm going to cross it out on the previous page. Dependent. Okay. Number 8. The people aboard the Hispaniola set off to Treasure Island in hopes of finding so much treasure that the amount would be blank. I think that one would be immeasurable, because they want it to be so much treasure they couldn't count it, so it would be immeasurable. They can't even measure how much money it is. And that doesn't always mean like measure like with a ruler, right? You're not measuring the length of the money. You're not measuring how much money you have with a ruler, but just counting is a form of measuring. So if you have so much money it's immeasurable. Oops, I didn't finish the word. Immeasurable. Okay, if it's so much money it's immeasurable, you can't even count that high, okay? Immeasurable. Let me cross it off. Okay. Number 9. With lots of different plants and animals, Earth is considered a planet with great blank. Biodiversity. Okay, it has a lot of different types of life. It is very diverse. Bio means life. Passing it out. Okay, we only have 3 words left. Mature, important, independent. Number 10. Before we went to the Treasure Island play, our mom reminded us to act blank. be polite, and sit quietly while we were in the theater. Okay, I think the only one that fits is mature. Act mature. Okay. Act mature, be polite, sit quietly. Great advice. Okay, crossing out mature. So there's only 2 words left. Independent, important. So back here, 11 and 12. For the words remaining, write a sentence using those words. So one word was independent. Independent. The other one was important, right? Yes, important. Okay. I'm just writing those there to remind myself, to remind you. You're not writing the definition of them. You're coming up with a sentence using that word. Okay, like Mrs. Flitton is a grown-up, so she is independent from her parents. Mrs. Flitton is awesome and super important. Okay, just kidding. Don't use those. Those are terrible examples. Come up with your own word or your own sentences using the word independent and using the word important. Okay? And that's it for that vocab part. So you can pause, come up with your sentences, then continue the video. The last thing for this lesson. I know it's getting to be a bit of a long video. Not the longest one we've had for this unit though. So these are your new spelling words. There are 10 of them, and they are all words that we have either come across in our unit or will come across in the next couple of chapters. They're all kind of pirate, voyage, ship, journey type words, okay? So this is sort of weird because we're at home, right? How can I give you guys a spelling test when you're at home? You know, we could do like a virtual one on Zoom or something, but then I'd have to trust, you know, that you weren't looking at a list off camera of the words. And I trust you guys, but not everyone has the ability to do Zoom or the best internet or internet at all, or even a device to watch this video on. So these are going to be your optional spelling words. Okay. So I know when a lot of you hear optional, you think, I'm not doing that, yay. This is only gonna make you a better student, okay? These are probably not words you'll use a whole lot in your life, but they are really fun. Buccaneer, that's awesome, okay? I would recommend still learning how to spell these words, still do these practice things. Spell them out loud, like how we do in class when I make my spelling posters. Write the sentences, or write sentences using each word. Copy them onto paper 1,000 times, or type them 1,000 times. Not really 1,000, right? I'm exaggerating. Or write them in alphabetical order. Okay, so this page on 53, page 53, are your 10 spelling words. They are optional. You will not be tested on them, but still nice to know. Okay, and on the back, page 54, are the definitions of those words. And 55 is where you can write them in alphabetical order if you are going to practice them. Okay, so here's all 10 words. Write them in alphabetical order, A to Z. All right, and that is it for this lesson. See you in the next video for lesson 7. Bye, guys.